forgotten in all of this? You're going to use Cos Law in the following two cases. We know all three sides. We call that side, 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 SSS. So when we do the diagram in step 1, it looks something like this. The second time that we use Cos Law is when we know two sides and the included angle. We call that side angle side. So we have any two sides, it doesn't matter which one. And as we talked yesterday, the included angle is the one that's in between them, the one that's formed by those two sides. Oh, thank you. So just a quick intro for those that weren't here yesterday. SOHCAHTOA, you learned last year, great formulas, except they only work for right angle triangle. Not every triangle in the world is right angle triangle, so now we have a choice between sine law and cos law. We did sine law yesterday. It's all up there. We're going to do cos law today. Cos law is for those two situations, which really you're going to know when to use cos law because you can't use sine law. So you go to use sine law, you're going to be missing information. That tells you automatically it's a cos law question. But what you're looking for in the diagrams is one of those two things. So either all three sides, no angles, or two sides and the angle that's in between them. To find a side, here's your formula. A squared equals b squared plus c squared. And if I pause there, what do you see in that first part of the formula? It's kind of Pythagorean theorem. But then there's a minus 2bc cos A. That's one that's up there. That's one that's on your formula sheet. You need to know it if you're finding a different letter. It's pretty self-explanatory in logic. We just follow the pattern. So if this one starts with A, it then has B and C, the other two sides. So if this one starts with B, what are the first two terms going to be here? A squared plus C squared. Then it's always minus 2. The other two sides multiplied together. So when this is A on the left, this was BC on the right. If this is B, this is going to be AC. And then always times the cos of whatever letter's on the left is going to be on the right, except we have to put an uppercase letter. Quick review for those who missed yesterday. What's the difference between an uppercase and a lowercase? Uppercase are angles, lowercases are sides. So let's follow the pattern for c squared. If c is on the left, what's the first two terms on the right? A squared plus b squared. Then minus 2 AB times cos of capital C. So we only give you the first one. You can just figure out the pattern for the other two. It's not that hard. Again, it'll always be up on my wall. It's the last white sheet from the door. It's also on your formula sheet. So here's a straight up question, which if you were here yesterday or watched the video, you'll notice these look exactly like the questions we did yesterday. So for triangle ABC, B is 8, C is 7, angle A is 45, find A. Method box, exactly the same as sine law. What was step 1 yesterday for those that were here? Draw and label the triangle. Then pick the formula. Step 3. Substitute into the formula. Step 4. Isolate the variable. And step 5. Use a calculator. Exactly the same steps. Go to your paper, which I'm sure you already have out, and labeled cos law. There's no tan law. He gets left out. We don't need him. He's just not important.
Whoa, Aaron. I know.
Oh, that I just realized. I was like, wow. Step number 1, draw and label the triangle. We start with just a generic triangle. It's not to scale. There's no reason it looks like that. We're just trying to not do it as a right angle triangle. Doesn't matter how you put the letters. I tend to start on the bottom left and I go around counterclockwise. It doesn't matter where you put them. It's completely up to you. Sides are opposite their angle. So if angle B is at the top, what it means is the opposite side is side B, which was 8 in this question. Side C is opposite angle C, which was 7 in this question. And angle A was 45 degrees. When you look at the diagram, you should see the case number 2 for Cos Law. You've got 2 sides and the included angle. Again, if you went to use sine law, you'd be stuck. There's no way you have enough information. So that tells you it's a Cos Law question. We're trying to find A, so we're going to start with A squared equals. Give me the other half of the formula. Perfect. High five to Bryn there. So that's step 2, write down the formula. Step 3 is just direct substitution. So B we know from the question is 8. C we know is 7. And A, capital A, we know is 45. The lovely thing about Cos Law is for step 4, the isolate, this is always going to be by itself. There's nothing you have to do, so it's a straight up, punch the right into your calculator. Don't round off yet, though. So punch exactly what you see from left to right. Sorry, Brett, a little bit louder. 33.8. Is that rounded? Is that's where it ended, or it went further than that? 804, 04, 04. I'm just going to put dot, 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 just to show we're not rounding yet. If you round here, your final answer will be out, so we don't round till the very, very end. Can someone confirm? 33.804, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. How do we get A by itself? How do we get rid of a squared? Square root. This is where we'll round. We'll go 1 decimal place. Can someone confirm 5.8? There's Cos Law. If you weren't here yesterday, just make a note not to round till the very end. Okay, so don't round anywhere in the question.
When we write it on a test, do we have to put the dot, 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 or can we just not round it and just leave it as 804?
If you put it there, it looks like you rounded it off. Okay. So I want the dot, dot, dot just to show for sure, because it's going to matter with something later we're going to do. So no rounding till the very, very, very end. So step 1 was over here. I'll label it for the newbies who weren't here yesterday. There's step 1, draw and label the triangle. Step 2 was write down the formula. Step 3 was substitute into the formula. Step 4 was isolate the variable. And then step 5 was just using your calculator to get the value. What I love about Cos Law, it's the exact same steps every single time, the exact same work. It's just going to change what's on the left-hand side, because it might be B or might be C or might be something. Besides that, straight up formula. Number 2 is how we try to get a little bit tricky. Ooh, no A, B, and C, S, T, and P. Doesn't matter how you label the triangle. I always start with the bottom left and go around. It's just the habit of the way I'm used to doing it. I was thinking more like stop without the O. Side P is opposite angle P, which is 14 in this question. Angle T at the top is 140. And side S is 16. Look at the diagram. How do you know this is a Cos Law question? 2 sides and the included angle, the one that's in between them. Again, if you went to do sine law, you'd be stuck. There's nothing you can do. Okay, what are we trying to find? So we need to make the formula from what you're given with A. That's why we practice with B and C. So if T is on this side, what's going to be the first 2 terms on the other side? We're going to just give the variables first, though. S squared plus P squared. Then it's only minus 2 SP, so match those same variables, times the cos of capital T. It's got to be a capital to be an angle, not a side. Step number 3, plug in what we know. We know S is 16, P is 14, and capital T is, was it 140 or 114? 140. Plug the right-hand side into your calculator. Don't round off. Point, blah, blah, blah. That sounded confirmed? We're good, we're good. How do we isolate T? How do we get T by itself? Square root. This is where we'll round to 1 decimal place.
28.2.
Offer of 28.2. How are we feeling so far with Cos Law? People not here yesterday, how are you feeling? Because kind of catching you up. So again, SOHCAHTOA, great formulas. However, they're only right angle triangles. This will work for everything else. It does. Shh. But it's more work than SOHCAHTOA, so don't use it. What if we want to find an angle? So what we need to do is get this A all by itself. So let's rearrange this formula. How do I get rid of B squared? Subtract it, so move it to the other side. How do I get rid of C squared? Subtract it to the other side. Negative 2 times B times C is multiplied by cos A, so we can think of this like one term. How do I get rid of a multiplication by negative 2BC? Divide by negative 2BC. And I'm just going to switch this to the left because we like the variable on the left. And I'm going to do a little bit of math magic here. Mathematicians hate negatives. We just don't like them. So if we can turn something more positive than negative, we tend to do that. So what I'm going to do in theory is multiply the top and bottom by negative 1 because there's lots of negatives and I want to cancel them. So if I multiply A squared by negative 1, what do I get? Okay, keep that in your head for a second. If I multiply B squared by negative 1, I'm going to get, and I'm going to put it first because I like the negatives in the back. And if I multiply negative A squared by negative 1, I get plus C squared. And so I'm just going to tuck that negative A into the back. I'll do the bottom in a second. I just want to make sure you see where all that came from. So again, it's just a math fussy thing. If we can have more positives, we do. We just like it, and we like negatives in the back. So all I did was multiply everything on the top by negative 1 and just rearrange the order. And on the bottom, if I multiply negative 2BC by a negative, we get 2BC. And that's our formula. So cos A is B squared plus C squared. And the reason I did that rearranging is because now it kind of starts off like the other formula. If there's A on the left, you start with B and C on the right. Then you subtract the same letter that's on the left. And then you divide by 2 times those first two on the right, B and C. So that's why we did that rearranging, just so it kind of starts like the other one. So it's just the same formula, just rearranged. What if I wanted for cos B? Well, we start with the other two letters, so A squared plus C squared. We minus the same letter, so minus B squared. And then on the bottom, we get 2 times the first two letters, AC. If I want cos of C, what's going to start with on the other side? A squared plus B squared minus C squared. divide by 2AB. People not here yesterday, this whole conversation I'm about to have is going to be like, what? You guys just bear with me. People who were here yesterday, tell me about ambiguous case. There's two possible triangles, and what do you have to do at the very end? Yeah, we do the or, and then we take 180 and minus. Not a problem for Cos Law. The reason it happened in sine law was where is sine positive? Quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. What's the maximum amount of angles in a triangle? 180. Where is cos positive? 1 and 4, but 4 is outside the scope of a triangle because it's between 270 and 360. So ambiguous case will never happen with cos law. It's only a sine law thing. So you might want to make a note, forget ambiguous case. Other guys, especially James, who now has missed 2 classes, like looking at me like I'm a space alien. Whoosh. Just bear with me, it'll make sense when you see the other videos. So ignore ambiguous case. Doesn't exist for cos because cos is 1 and 4. Here's a typical question for this year. So example 3. Starts the same triangle ABC and they give you a bunch of stuff. They told us A is 6, B is 7, C is 4. We want to know angle A. Too dark? I didn't like the light because it was shining on it. Take a look at the diagram. What do you see? All 3 sides, no angle, has to be cos law. If you went to use sine law, what's going to happen? You don't have an angle, so you're stuck on, yeah, I got to put the light on. You're stuck on sine law. So how do you know when to use? Because you can't use the other one. Okay, so let's set up the formula cos A equals, if we start with A, what do we start with on the right? B squared plus C squared. Then we subtract the same letter, which will be A squared. Then on the bottom, we divide by 2 BC. Straight substitution, 7 squared plus 4 squared minus 6 squared, divide by 2 times 7 times 4. If you have the old operating system, you're going to have to open and close the bottom and the top. If you've got the new that gives you the nice little fraction, you don't have to worry about that. Don't round off. Looking for confirmation. Make sure you know how to type this nasty fraction into your calculator. Now, sometimes people freak because it's such a small answer, and how can an angle be that small? But we're not at the angle yet. That's just the cos of the angle, and those will be really tall number or really tiny numbers.
Oh, I got that too.
You got it? Good. Just checking. How do I get rid of cos in an equation? What's the opposite of cos? Inverse cos, so I now need to inverse this answer. That's why you don't round off there, because then your answer now will be off, so keep all those decimal places, inverse cos, get your answer back. Let's go to 1 decimal place.
58.8.
Looking for confirmation on 58.8. Thumbs up over there. Good, all good. Read number 4. Highlight solve the triangle. So you would have seen ones like this last year. What does it mean when it says solve the triangle? Find everything that's missing. Okay, so let's just take stock. What do we have? What do we still need? Okay, so we need angle B, and we need angle C. What would you like to find first? B, okay. Cos B equals, let's get the formula for the other side. If B is on the left, what starts on the right? And then minus the same letter, B squared, divided by A was 6, C was 4, B was 7. Even? 0.625. Confirm 0.0625. How do we find B from that? Inverse cos, go to 1 decimal place. Let's go to 1. 86.4, confirmed. Questions so far? I like these questions because it's really hard to screw them up. It's like straight up substitution, no work, use your calculator. Okay, now we have 2 methods to find the last angle. What are the 2 methods? So we can use the fact that the 3 angles in a triangle equal. Why? Why do the 3 angles in a triangle equal 180? But they can't just be that's the way it is. But why? Why? Prove it to me. Now, I purposely didn't do this yesterday because we were missing so many people. I want you to grab a pair of scissors and a scrap piece of paper. Grab a pair of scissors and a scrap piece of paper. Sadly, it's not me or my dogs. It's not.
Angle of 60 degrees from each other. 2 meters per second. 2.5. Oh, no, this is different. How far apart? Oh, wait, no, you just say it after.
Okay, let's draw a diagram. I'm going to do a top-down view. So here's me. I'm little. I feel like we need to add some trees just for fun. Woo.
All the trees in this Cinnamon Forest are like.
So there's like a really big one in there. I don't know what happened there. One goes this way. One goes this way. How dogs or animals run through the forest and not get a stick in the eye or stick anywhere in them, just, I don't know, I don't get that.
Yeah, but they get burrs all the time.
I know, but like there's sticks everywhere. How do they not get impaled? Like, let's be honest. How do they not? Angle we know is 60. I feel like I need to draw the deer, but I don't know what that would look like from top down.
It's like a weird logo with a head.
I kind of feel like it needs to be like lying down. That's a really big deer head. I don't know what's going on there. There's like an antler. I don't know.
The deer is
Yeah, it's like the size of an elephant. It's an Ella deer. Let's not talk about it. We need sides to this triangle.
side T is like 2.5. So like you go opposite that.
You mean side?
Side T because like the opposite of T is
Yeah.
T. Yeah. So side T is 2.5.
Yeah.
Because if you calculate it at if he's around 1 second, then you can is 2. It's 150 because you're running seconds.
Ooh. So 2.5 meters a second, but how many seconds did he run for?
I didn't know that.
So how long did he run? Sorry. There might be a little bit of math and physics, just a little bit.
Are you talking about like the distance?
150, confirm. What about Bella?
50. I didn't see it through it.
What are we trying to find?
Oh wait, side MST.
Okay, so let's come to our paper. I'm not going to draw that. I'm just going to draw the triangle. T, B, me.
Calculated the angle.
Oh, I forgot with Toby and the deer poop story. A long time. Then two weeks after that, he got sprayed by a skunk. Not that good. Okay, we need a formula. We're finding a side or finding an angle. Okay, so what's it going to start with? So if we start with m, what do we start with on the right? Well, I'm going to do variables first, and then we'll plug in. So t squared. QBC cos m. What was t? B. Running out of space. Smushing it all in there. Do we round at this step? And if you're like, ugh, what does it matter when I round? Where would you like your engineers that are designing your house to round?
18,900.
If they rounded early and their calculations are out, what's going to happen to your house? Probably. So 18,000 even? Yeah. Oh, no rounding. Yeah. Units, because it's a word problem? So as you know, I don't have children, but I often wonder, what happens if these are children and they run off in opposite directions? Who do you chase after? So my husband has twin boys. So he had this problem is, what do you do when you have twins? Who do you run after? He leashed them. Like, smart. You leash your kids and I don't leash my dogs. Smart.
You lease your kids.
He leashed them, yeah.